All right,
I don't know.
here it goes. Softly. You do it softly, nobody hears it. That's a much better way of doing it. I'm calling the meeting to order. It is now, well, a little later than what we wanted. You got a couple extra minutes. So it is what?
9 after.
It's about 9 after. Who said 6:08?
6:08
Your
says
clock's
mine.
like mine. All right, we need a roll call.
Ms. Howell?
Yes.
Ms. Butler-Chandler here. Ms. Wilson?
Here.
Mr. Northwest?
Here.
Ms. Kellerman?
Here.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Here.
Thank you.
You got it? All right, what we've got is the next process, which we don't see that often, is your meeting procedures. This was a place that,
Civil reflection.
no, this was a place where, I know, it's not on here and it should be, but it's not. And that was the part that I initially had talked about whether my space was right or not. And I was told it didn't really make any difference, so I'm taking the meeting process, and that's where I'm gonna speak. Judy had wonderful words to say about Joe, and he really is missed, although I have no qualms whatsoever to say he's watching and he's here. I believe that firmly. We're gonna have a process to deal with his replacement, which appears to be coming really early, and I know that, but it's something as if we have to keep moving along. And your trustees are very aware of the election law and how that works, and how this board is responsible for filling that vacant seat. So in that process, obviously, Michigan election law, and I know there are those of you there who have read it, who know exactly what that means. And that means that, again, this board will be responsible for filling that seat. It doesn't say much about a procedure. In fact, it doesn't say anything about the process itself. All it says is that the board will appoint. So knowing that, the board has to determine whether or not their process or a process is going to be introduced. It was eventually talked about, and so there's understanding that there's no mandate for the process. So our history with this is that these two positions, and I'm pointing this way, they were held without a process. They were immediately filled, and there was one other that was filled, but that was for a closed session, okay? So understand that you can do it either way. You can either have a process or you don't have to have a process, and that's kind of what it explains. So our last two positions in 2020 were made through a process, and that too, I think, was going to be held out for those who wanted applications. There is a change in it, of course, or a change that this board can make, but the biggest change will be done, has to do with the clerk. Instead of Kathy McQueen's name, it'll say Brenda. Okay, so that too will be changed, on how it works. I have a number of applications, but that's neither here nor there. But that will probably be changed. Yes?
Can't hear.
Can't hear you.
I asked if you guys knew what she was talking about and what happened to Trustee Benzie.
No, you go ahead. Okay.
That was just a question.
My ASSU and me is that everyone sitting here in this room knows that Joe Benzie passed. That is probably part of the reason why you're here. That would be my assumption. So our position, just so you know that, and it has to be filled, which again is what I had said. So this process that we're going to go through, which they have to decide how they're going to do it. But because, right, I'm going to throw this out, you're not going to like it, but I'm going to throw it out. Because I'm the highest elected official at this time, I feel that it would be, with the help, hopefully, of Sherry or somebody else, to collect those applications. Now, that again has to be decided how this process is going to work. Again, for me, the board is what's responsible. I shouldn't be doing that, should I? The board is responsible for what's going to be happening and how it's going to be done. So applications that are being taken, for me personally, I think the board should be responsible for them. So that we again can put these, and what they're actually saying is the process that initially had been talked about, they have to determine, they being the board has to determine if it'll go as long as the 28th, I think is what was, there's 27th. And then by October 2nd, they'll be in the packet so that people will know who they are. And they'll also have an opportunity at that date in October, the first meeting that we have, to be able to just stand up and say a few words about themselves so that we all understand who they are. Paper's really nice, but it's nice to see somebody stand there and talk about it. So each applicant being invited, that's the process that was initially talked about by the staff that we would end up having, so that you would know that that's what's going to be happening if in fact you put your application in, or even if you don't, if you want to come and listen. It's really an important piece to fill. Everybody knows how terribly important that is. And I am so sorry that it's coming so quickly on the heels of Joe passing, but I'm afraid that's the way it'll happen. So again, October 2nd, this is when the board, and again, this board has to determine what their process is going to be. So we'll have to wait for that time to come for them to discuss what it is they want to do. So our next, I'll stop talking right there. So our next one will be our roll call. Did we do that already?
We did that.
Okay. So we've had the roll call, we've had my discussion, and now we'll go to civil reflections, which will include the Pledge of Allegiance in addition to my silent moment.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now, for those who have an agenda, the next item is 3, which is the, of course, that's what is listed, as the approval of the agenda. I do have additions myself, so,
I have one.
okay.
I would like to mention our colleague first when we start. That's not here.
Can't hear you.
I would like to mention our colleague that's not here first when we start the meeting.
May I ask a question, Madam Supervisor? I'm just curious, what does that mean in terms of the agenda? Are you asking that the board acknowledge trustee Benzie in this meeting, or is there a change to the agenda?
Change to the agenda is I would like to speak to Joe. I'd like to speak to his absence here.
Okay. So,
Where would you like that?
Huh?
Where do you want it on the agenda?
First thing as soon as we get started.
Get started.
Well, we're doing all changes, approval to the agenda now. I don't know if there's more.
So where
so
do you want approval for Joe?
perhaps as number 4 then, since we are on number 3?
Sure.
Is that, I just want to make sure we do what you're asking with this.
Yeah.
Okay, as soon as we finish 3, then I would like to do that. Is that clear?
No?
Well,
sorry.
if there's more, more changes to the agenda,
Oh.
then go ahead and finish that before I,
So you have no changes to the
just
agenda?
that. That's my change. I want to
You
speak.
want to add Joe?
You wanna
Yes, I want to
on
speak
behalf-
on behalf of Joe.
Okay. And where do you want that on the agenda?
Number
Just
4, she
four,
said,
Which is?
4A.
or 3.
Thank you. We've never had a 4A.
Okay.
Well, that's not a conflict.
I would
Yeah, you're
just
right.
recommend,
That's
it's
right.
just a new 4 and everything else would be renumbered because it's not this is just a
Yeah.
difficult
Yes.
situation.
It is a difficult situation.
It is.
All right, so instead of 4,
3Z.
I really think it could be as simple as, this will be number 4.
Okay.
And that means that everything else
Moves down.
moves down a number.
So
Okay.
4 becomes 5.
Correct.
5 becomes 6.
Yes.
Okay, I've got, okay. So Joe is 4. He'd like that.
Special.
Okay. My changes. Is that all you have to change for the agenda?
As far as I know, yes.
I'm looking at 13B. Although everything's changed, so 12 is now 13. Okay? Is that,
Yep.
Is
well,
it the,
now I'm not sure how that works.
well, what will the title be, Madam
The
Supervisor?
title's going to be my office.
What, is it under unfinished business then?
The unfinished business.
Okay, so
That's
Okay.
what I'm looking and
So-
going.
so we're gonna call it
so it's
14.
14. So it's 14B. Okay.
Oh, I guess I do
Well-
have.
How about 14A, small a? Let's do that. And everything else then moves down.
So are you saying
Man, oh,
unfinished
man.
business or in new
Un-
business?
No, it's unfinished business, and that'll be the supervisor's office. And I also.
Under introduction or under
Nope,
items for
that-
action?
That should be items for action.
So you're gonna do
So that's the
14B.
Big B.
So it'll be 14B, that's what I said, but that's what I'm trying to figure out now that everything changes.
14,
We'll say
big
A.
B,
And
little
say
b.
A.
understand.
Yeah.
Well, glad somebody understands.
Big B, little b.
This is- No, it'll be a big B, items for action,
Yes, under the big B, you want
A.
A.
Supervisor's office.
Okay.
And then, at that same one, I want, which again, it'll be 14,
Just to clarify, Marie, you're saying then that
Yeah.
current A would move down to B?
well, actually, there's 2. So you'll have A, B, your acceptance of the 24 to 28 capital improvement actually becomes C.
Oh,
Yeah, it's really confusing now that we're
Oh.
doing it like that.
And I have another one too, I'm sorry.
Okay,
So what's your
Okay.
B?
so what?
Let's finish this.
And it's rescinding, so that you can put it under there. The B is going to be unfinished business, items for action, the request for legal pay.
Legal pay?
Yes, for the pay, the $20,120
okay.
and 10 cents.
Gotcha.
Just so,
And that's C
I
now?
hope everybody out there is understanding what we're doing.
Well, it
Ex-
makes perfectly good sense to know.
Okay,
Exactly.
we're-
That's exactly
we're
right.
revisiting 2 subjects that were talked about before. If I understand it right, I can
That's
reiterate it.
But-
Marie's office and the
And
payment
pay.
to Marie for legal
But
expenses.
now it's moved to 14 because everything has been
Yeah, it's called 14B,
changed.
BB.
B, and BC.
Anybody got a big B? That'll work.
Madam Supervisor, I've recommended, we're going to see if we can make this happen, that the superintendent will make real-time changes on the agenda, which we can place on the screen if.
Can't hear a thing.
I do apologize, I have a quiet voice apparently. We are trying to make real-time changes to the agenda so that that can at least be placed on the screen if the agenda is amended as is being discussed.
Is it gonna be put on the screen?
We're
That would
working.
be awesome.
We're working
Okay.
to make the adjustments based on what's being discussed. It still needs to be
Okay.
approved, of course, but there would at least be something in front of
Yeah, that'd be
everyone
great.
that catches us all up.
Okay.
And I had one other thing, if you're finished with that one.
As far as good Lord, I hope so. That's confusing.
Okay, it's getting there. Items for action, discussion that I sent out an email to all the board and to everybody and possibly involved at the senior center to revisit again, asked for the euchre to be it didn't get on the menu, I asked it for an item for action. It was ignored apparently by all, that we have euchre started again as allowed by state law. And I was asked by the seniors that was an important thing for the seniors and they want to get it going again.
that's new
So-
business, you're saying?
No, it's not new. It's been old. It's been
No, I
discussed
get the
before.
concept, I'm asking about the agenda.
I want it under items for action.
under new business.
14.
Yes.
Yep, so it's now 15,
So you're
yes.
talking D?
No, it's still 14. That's not new.
No, it's,
I agree.
we're,
I agree with Madam Supervisor. It is still old unfinished business, but you're.
you're right, you're right.
Yes.
Okay, so it's under 14,
So is that
B,
D?
euchre, I just called it. B, C,
Okay.
or
so-
D, or whichever one we're on now.
So you're moving it to D?
Well, that'll make a difference.
It'll be
because
D.
D, okay.
So you're moving C down to D?
A is the
Well, I think
office,
she's just adding D.
adding
Move
D.
Okay,
Yeah, after the capital
Okay.
improvement plan.
okay.
Acceptance.
Okay,
You're calling it an acceptance?
I would,
So it's unfinished business.
unfinished business, yeah. Was-
Well, items for action.
I
unfinished business.
asked for it to be item for action
Right.
on an email, and it didn't happen, so,
Okay, unfinished business.
so,
So what's the title? Acceptance? No, whatever you,
I wrote down you for playing at the senior center.
okay,
that's good enough.
close enough.
Close enough.
Yes, that's right.
I would propose we take the conversation you started at the beginning of the meeting and also put it into an item for action so we can decide tonight on how we want to move.
Well, I think
So
that
I
makes
would
sense.
propose that would be 15 new business, B items for action, C trustee
Do
vacancy.
we want to make it A though?
Now, I was gonna say, thank you, because I was gonna ask the same thing. Are you sure you don't want to do that A, only because closed session is,
No, that's
so
fine.
you want it after the closed session?
No, I think, Marie, that's a great suggestion. A sounds great.
No. I didn't, you did it.
That was my note. That was the only thing I
To
had.
whomever the credit should belong. That was a good suggestion.
Yes,
So what
all
are
right,
we doing?
so,
So old 14, capital B,
old 14, that's a good,
lowercase a, trustee vacancy. Which makes meeting schedule old 14 BB and closed session old 14 BC.
okay, is everybody totally confused? Because I'm gonna call it out, and if I'm wrong, please, I know I'll be corrected. All right, now, is that it? Any other changes? All right. So, 4, that's correct. The approval of the agenda as amended.
Conflicts.
Okay.
Do that
Trustees Benzie.
Do conflicts first, maybe.
No, that's
No,
fine.
no.
It's fine. It's up there.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Okay.
Neat.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I approve the agenda, make a motion.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Got it? Okay.
Okay. Miss Joe
We gotta-
sitting next.
Whoa,
We gotta vote.
whoa.
It's okay.
Yep.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Felix Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes,
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes. Now we have 4.
She
Get
gets
to
to speak.
speak.
I just want to say that I miss Mr. Joe sitting next to me in his always quiet, always respectful, quiet ways. I really do miss that. And I'm going to make a motion now, and I hope you can accept my little run on here for about 2 minutes at the most. I was elected by the voters, obviously. Guy Eisenheimer was next behind me, as he also was in 2020 and passed over and was not put in line, as the voters wished. By the voters, he was next in line and was passed over, and we want to possibly do that again and go to another process that we've never used before the last 3 elections here. I really highly recommend we don't do that this time. If you choose any Tom, Dick, or Henrietta, you are not respecting or representing our voters. They spoke loud and clear in the past. This man deserves to be here. He will serve our taxpayers and our voters. He's experienced, he's interested in serving, he ran twice. He cares about the voters and the people in this township. And he's experienced in many different things. To me, personally, he supports our seniors. And remember, our seniors vote, all of them, whenever they can. They're important in this community. He supports our seniors. He supports our voters. I make a motion to nominate Guy Elsenheimer to replace Mr. Joe Benzie as a Bath Charter Township trustee with a term ending in 2024. Thank you for your time.
I'll second that, so. Is there, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that idea. I mean, we have a place on the agenda where we had just carved out where we would talk about this.
Yes, we did. We did talk about it on the agenda to carve it out.
But instead, we're going to do it under the heading of trustee Joe Benzie.
Yep. That's my motion, seconded by Marie.
The other, go ahead.
Joe would have loved that.
Thank you.
I cannot believe that you had enough nerve to say what you did.
Thank you.
His best friend I've had in years, and I can't believe that you said what you did. I'm sorry.
Why are you sorry?
That she did it.
You're sorry she did it?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Any other discussion? The motion's on the floor, it's been seconded, so take the vote.
Ms. Wilson?
No.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Thiensbliss?
No.
Mr. Rosecrans?
No.
Ms. Butler Challenger, no. Ms. Howe?
She talked about a process. I'm gonna say yes. So what is that?
2 to 4.
Okay. We have a 2 to 4 against the motion that was just brought up. Okay? So obviously the motion fails. Okay? You know, after all this disclosure of conflict of interest, there doesn't seem to be any at this time.
Maria, is this a
No.
place where you would talk about your legal fees? You
No.
had
Because it's a conflict of interest.
You had chosen last time not to vote on it because it was a conflict?
I was told it wasn't a conflict.
Your fees it was.
Your fees were,
Yeah,
so I think that,
is that what you say?
That's what I
No,
hear him
that
saying.
That would come before.
But that's a conflict.
It would be a conflict that you would declare under disclosure of conflicts of interest.
Oh, is that what you,
Yes.
because I wasn't gonna vote.
I think that's why you would say it here, to say I have a conflict, so I'm not gonna vote.
That's, oh, I officially will say, shake your head, yes, I appreciate that. That it states that because this deals with money, then for me, that's a conflict of interest. So I guess the board will make that determination. So that is conflict of interest, which I would have stated anyway, but here's where it needs to be stated.
Is it
So there
office
you go.
also?
Apparently not.
Okay.
Apparently not. Okay, public statements.
Adam Stacy, 14296 Mulholland Drive. I'm really trying to calm my blood pressure down, which is going through the roof, because I came here to say a couple nice words about Joe Benzie. And we can't even move and take 5 minutes to appreciate Joe Benzie before getting into a political fight. This is absolutely outrageous by everybody involved. Joe Benzie belongs on the Mount Rushmore of Bath Township with Bob Leiby and Skip Losey for the effort and dedication he had to this community. And I served with him almost 20 years ago on the Park Lake Improvement or Advisory Board and with his work on the Planning Commission. And I just wanted to come up here and say some really good words about it. thanks, she did that right at the end of the budget meeting, but this meeting, we shouldn't even be talking about replacing Joe. We got just like 60 days to deal with that. It's not a problem, but we should just be taking a moment and celebrating the life of someone who was taken far too soon from us for everything he did. A man who sat up here and with stoicism and principledness and professionalism could disagree without being disagreeable, which is a trait I think everybody needs to learn and relearn right now. I'm just going to walk away right now so I don't say anything more, but thank you.
Thanks, Evan.
Rick Curtis, Park Lake Road. So apparently, why am I not surprised that this board doesn't care about the will of the voters? You know, we're all sorry that Joe's gone. There's no question of that. Joe and I worked very closely together. I remodeled his kitchen in his place up in Traverse City area. I stayed at his cabin and took the kids skiing. He helped in a small way to raise my 5- and 7-year-old when I got them and had no idea that I was going to, and it was just kind of sprung on me. They loved him. They called him Mr. Joe Benzie. They didn't call him Mr. Benzie. It was Mr. Joe Benzie. Can we go to Mr. Joe Benzie's house? And he loved that. Now we want to continue on and get our board refilled. It should be a no-brainer for you people. But you don't care what the voters think. It should be a no-brainer for the senior center. I know, Ryan, that you're anti-senior. You have mentioned that those old people give me the creeps. But guess what? They're voters. Like Cheryl said, they vote. So I guess you get some creepy votes if you can get them to vote for you anymore. But you have voted against or to slow down everything that has been put forward as a motion to improve the senior center over and over and over. I don't share the same politics as Guy Elsenheimer. He's a Republican, I'm a Democrat. But I have enjoyed our discussions because he's respectful. He doesn't treat me like a Trumper who's about to mob the Capitol, and I don't treat him like I'm some woke, crazy guy. And we can have discussions, and we probably solved a few of the world's problems if they'd listened to us. But he earned that position. He earned that seat twice. You gave it to somebody who is also a Democrat. But you gave it to him because he was a Democrat. And I'm not sure, Al, why you felt that that was a terrible thing for Cheryl to say.
Break for 3 minutes, Rob.
Did it? I didn't even hear the beeper again.
I know. She's toned it down a little bit.
Let's see if you guys can do the right thing for once. Just once. I know it's hard. I know it makes sense, but let's do it anyway.
All right, is there anyone else, public comment?
I have a public comment. My name is Ray Kotke, and I live on Park Lake Road for a long time. And ironically, I was talking to my significant other tonight, and she said, I tried to leave you a voicemail, but your voicemails were full. And so I said, well, she said, it's not taking any more voicemails. So I got to my voicemails, and I opened this and heard this.
Hi, Ray, it's Joe Benzie. Give me a call when you get a chance. Talk to you later. Bye.
I was dumbfounded. But anyway, I'm going to miss you a lot, too. So, now back to the agenda. Oh, and I want to say one more thing about what all this controversy has been here up at the podium recently. There's two different things here on the agenda, or that you guys are going to have to deal with. One is called an appointment, and one is called an election. One you get to vote in, one you do not. And that's the difference. That's where the process is. That's all I'm going to say about it. Anyway, the next one is about your closed door meeting that you're going to have tonight, about Park Lake Creamery, potential purchase of township property. That is our own and our only commercial entity on Park Lake and in the Park Lake community other than Miller's Party Store. It's almost become an institution. Everybody loves it. The last 2 times I went to an event of theirs, I've actually met Andy Shore there, mayor of Lansing, because he loves it, and so do a lot of other people. And what Connie wants to do, I've talked with him personally, he really wants to expand, and he wants to create an even more convivial arena for Township and the community by possibly expanding into like a little bistro or something of that nature, and he needs, of course, parking. That lot directly across that's Township property that he would potentially like to purchase is an ideal place for him to do that. And also, he will have more lakefront. In addition to that, the Township will not lose the easement where Rickard Lane goes to the lake. If you haven't noticed on Fetch GIS, you can notice that there's an easement of Rickard Lane that literally goes across Park Lake Road and into the lake. Steve Phillip used to actually chain his boat there so that, because he lived on Josephine back in the pre-highway days. But anyway, I urge you to get with Connie and Nikki and work something out with them so that we can retain them, because they're very, 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 very valuable to this community. And I would like to see that come to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Is there anybody else? Public statement?
John Reich, Chairman of the Planning Commission. I'd like to thank the board for retaining George Baker on the Planning Board. He's been a real asset, and the fact that he's also the chairman of the Road Committee has really facilitated road work in Bath Township. And I think going forward, it's important that people on the Road Committee have road background and that we have somebody from the Road Committee on the Planning Committee. It's been a real asset to have George there. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Is there anybody else this time?
Dennis Larnedy, Coleman Road. I just wanted to say how appalled I am at this board tonight that only 2 people, 2 of our board members, support the voting people. I'm appalled that 2 of the people I voted for and will never vote for again turned it down. 2 people that snuck in to their positions also voted it down. And I'm just appalled at our board members for not saying yes to Guy Eisenheimer.
I'm assuming we're closed because I don't see anybody getting up. Okay. So public statements. There's Dwight, don't stand outside the door. I don't know if those who don't know, this is our commissioner, Dwight Washington.
Thank you. Good evening. Dwight Washington, Clark Road. There's a lot going on in the county and the mid-Michigan region and the state for that matter. And so I kind of wanted to just give some big pictures ideas of what's taking place around here. Starting with the Tri-County Regional Planning, they've, as you do know, there's going to be the development along Coleman Road, but there's also going to be Michigan Avenue is going to undergo a large transformation, and we should see that in the next couple of years, or the development right away, but it being finished within the next couple of years. And Commissioner Stacy was here earlier, and that was actually something that he had a big influence on. But they're also going to be doing a biking infrastructure upgrade, and they're considering that to be one of the larger investments that the city, that Tri-County Regional Planning has made in the region for infrastructure change. And so I say that as we develop our own biking non-motorized plan for the future here in Bath. I'd like to inform people that community mental health has been very busy. They've been undergoing a crisis stabilization unit, and what that crisis stabilization unit will do is it will allow people who are feeling stressed and under duress a chance to get away and get the services they need before they end up in the hospital or in the jail. So we're very optimistic that that's going to be a game changer, and that was initiated by Debbie Stavanaugh and a special project that she's brought to the Lansing mid-region, Lansing area. I wanted to let you know that broadband is still on the Board of Commissioners' minds, and we did just receive notice of new funding, and that's being analyzed and explored right now to see what that means and how we can better position ourselves to receive those fundings. Within the county, there's a lot going on as well, and that, as you should hopefully you'll remember, that we do have a county administrator who has had a very busy year in terms of getting his feet on the ground, but also taking on the challenges that the county is facing as it becomes really more of an urban center. And primarily looking at, you very well may have heard about Eagle and discussions for a battery plant or a microchip plant, and the very challenging discussions that go around private uses versus public use to go along with that, and how that develops has taken a lot of the county's time and energy. We've also had very extensive discussions about solar and solar energy within within Clinton County, and that public process is coming to an end, and we should have a report and recommendations from a very large, I think about 15 to 18 people from the public who gave comment and input on that. And we've also signed agreements for the purchase of a park on Pratt Lake Road. Pratt Road, and it's a lake that's there that was a mine, sand mine before. And so that will be a new addition to our park systems in the county. I'd like to add that Tri-County Office on Aging is experiencing a lot of funding challenges as they adjust to pandemic numbers, but also an increase of people who are seniors who are seeking food assistance within the community. And the Meals for Wheels program, unfortunately, as they have to figure out how to manage their budget, new people will be getting 2 less meals a day. People who have been getting the 5 meals will be grandfathered in, but newer people will be getting 3 meals. So that will be a change, and there is a need for food support within the community. And they're looking into that and also trying to empower other agencies to go along with that do provide food services. To go along with that, they are having their fundraiser, the yearly fundraiser that's coming up, a dinner at Hawk Howell, and everybody is encouraged to attend that to support the committee. And then the last thing I would like to say is that Trustee Benzie was a valued member of our park board who really brought a wise and measured perspective to our meetings and will be missed. Thank you. Any questions?
Am I the only one normally? Okay, two very quick questions. Pratt Road, that is in Olive Township?
It's east of DeWitt and a little bit south.
So Victor? Maybe?
It wouldn't be Victor.
Pratt Road is south? That's what I thought. That's why I wondered if it was in Olive.
I don't know.
I may be looking at my map upside down. So.
Here. That's second quick question. When you're talking about the biking plan here in Bath, kind of run together. So.
That did bleed together, but okay. I brought that up because of the work that the Parks and Recreation Committee is working with to explore
North.
Bath development, or excuse me, biking development in Bath.
Because they're looking at St. John's beyond, is that, or are they looking south of St. John's? Do you know?
They're looking south of, the Tri-County Regional Planning is really looking south of St. John's, but the goal is to get up to the Clinton, Frederick Myers Trail.
Oh, they're gonna go west. Okay, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, good night.
Appreciate the information. Okay, our next item, which I think is 8, is that what it says?
7.
Good job. Nope, on there it's 8, which I've got, no, see it?
Consent agenda is 8 now.
Yep, consent agenda. All right, for those that are looking.
Oh, that's right, they changed all the
They
numbers.
changed it, so, yeah. So hope you have pencil that you've marked it in. And it's really nice to be able to see it. So the consent agenda.
I make a motion to accept the consent agenda as submitted.
Second.
Ms. Kellerman,
Yes.
Mr. Fields-Bliss,
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes, Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 9. Oh, that's really cool. I like that. That works very well. All right, item 9, which is the approval of the minutes. We're gonna have a special meeting approval and a regular board meeting approval.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustees meetings held on September 5th, 2023 as submitted.
Second.
Mr. Fields-Bliss,
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes, Ms. Howe,
Yes.
Ms. Wilson.
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item 10, which is the approval of vouchers. It's on the board.
I'll make a motion to approve the September 18th, 2023 vouchers as submitted.
Second.
Mr. Rosecrans,
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes, Ms. Howe,
Is that for today? I haven't seen it. No.
Ms. Wilson,
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman,
No, I haven't seen him yet.
Mr. Fields-Bliss.
Yes.
Thank you.
Ready? Okay. Item 11, which is the treasurer's report. Apparently, there's not another one,
Not yet. End of September.
so we don't get one.
Quarterly.
Not, I mean, every week. Okay, so we have
The,
none.
the item you asked for last time was
I asked-
revenue and expenditure, and that comes from the superintendent's office.
She can hand it to you.
It's not my report.
Does that make a difference? Okay. Treasury report, none. Committee appointments, that's mine. Which it also brings up an issue. I don't know why the Clinton County Broadband Task Force, but we'll get to that. Committee appointment has to do with Helen Murphy, who is going to be, hopefully, depending on whether you agree or disagree, for the Senior Services Advisory Board for a term ending December 31 of '23. And she'll be replacing Kathy Aldridge. Understanding from this board that she has a long history with the Senior Services Advisory. So I need a second.
I'll
Second.
it.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Did you put down for the second? Sure. Okay, thank you. I wasn't sure if Jennifer's louder because she's sitting right next to me.
No discussion.
No, well, the only discussion I have is just to remind the board that Ms. Murphy has been with the Senior Services before, so this is not a brand-new thing. She's been a member of this community for a lot of years.
Ms. Kellerman,
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, now, I'm not understanding, maybe you can help me, why this is committee appointments and not township reports. Is that a typo?
No, it's actually on here because on September 12th, I received notification from Jason Almarigi that due to changes in his work, he was no longer had the capacity to serve on this
all right.
committee and therefore is resigning from the Clayton County Broadband Committee.
Okay, I had no idea. So for committee appointments, you have his resignation?
I have it, it's a very short email
That's okay.
attached to, yes,
Okay, I would appreciate having that. if
Sure.
that's-
I can forward that.
Okay, so he's saying that he no longer wants to serve or can't serve?
In his current work capacity, he cannot serve. Last time, this group is the one that chose to put him forth, and I don't know what
That's
the
correct.
process will be to
That's why I
to
kind of
replace him,
wondered
so.
why it was a committee appointment and not a report. Okay,
We've had other resignations here, so I thought it fit.
so it says no attachment, so we'll be looking for a resignation?
I'll forward it to you, yes.
Well,
All
it's
of you,
not to me, it's to the rest of the board.
all of you,
It's all-
yes.
Okay. So do we need to have another, someone with the Clinton County?
Yes. I
Okay.
believe we'll need a replacement.
Okay, so the next meeting, October 2nd, we'll have a replacement? Does that sound right?
Do you have somebody to put on there?
No?
That's why I'm
Got a
saying,
clue.
I'm looking for the direction as to how to either
Well, first submit
seek
his
or.
resignation, and then
Okay,
we'll put it out there. Any of you interested in doing? So, no. Okay. All right, so that'll need to be taken care of, I guess. Okay. So that's not, okay. All right. Township committee reports.
Could I just ask a question on that
Oh,
last topic?
Sure.
So the process is, what do
Well,
you want us to do?
apparently, nothing that you can do. The process at this time is accept the resignation. Once that has been accepted, then the applications come in, and then you make a determination whether you want that as a representative.
Is this on our committee sheet for people to check off?
no, it's not.
So we wouldn't have a
Never has been.
vehicle for people to apply?
Nope, never has been.
I agree,
Yeah.
I'm just asking, like, how would people
No.
then apply, because the form that we currently have doesn't even have it as an option?
It's called I Knock Doors. And so I have to bring to you, that's my job, is to bring to you any applications that people would be interested in the broadband task force. And then you make the determination as a member of the board whether that's acceptable or not.
Okay, in the past, you have told us we all share that obligation, so if you're taking it on, that's great, and I support that.
Well, she put it under committee appointments, so
Right,
that's my ASSU and me, assuming that that's what I'm supposed to do.
I don't think that's how it worked last time, but I'm certainly open
That's-
to.
No, Jason said he would do it, and all of us went, great, takes a load off our backs. So now it's on my back, because it's under committee appointments. And so what that means is the termination comes through, and then I have to bring to you someone who is interested in belonging to the broadband task force. Just like it says committee appointments.
yeah, all I'm saying, Maria, is in the past, you have told us that we all share responsibility for that. But I totally support you bringing someone forward.
Yeah, and, well, you do, by either up or down.
Yeah, that's just
Yeah,
not what you've
okay.
shared with us in the past, so I just wanna check in
No,
with
no.
you to make sure we're on the same page.
Jason was the one, and you were one of them.
No, I'm talking about committees overall. The
That's
committees that
okay.
don't require you to put someone forward, you have told us that is our shared responsibility to find people.
Would you like to?
No, Marie, I'm just checking in on
Okay.
what you have previously said to me to make sure we're on the same page, and
No,
we are.
this was something that Jason sat there and everyone
It's not
said.
about this committee.
Okay, then
Thank
that's
you.
the process.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
On the same
You're
page.
More than welcome. All right, Township Committee reports. Where's the police department? You have such patience. Yes, please.
So you should have in your packet is the annual report from 2022. How's that?
Better, thank you.
Better? Okay. Do you have any questions? Otherwise, I'll just skim through it. If there's any specific questions.
Any questions? So skim away.
Okay. The biggest thing you notice is the index crimes, or what we refer to as the serious crimes, the felony crimes, are up in 2022. The overall number of incidents reported in 22 were pretty steady. They're still not pre-COVID levels, but they're getting close. But the biggest effect we have right now is the serious crimes, the murder, rape, robbery, arson, aggravated assault are up. As well as you notice in the report as well, the aggression against police officers, and that's nationwide, is up from previous years. Other than that, you got our training listed on there, as well as one of the issues we're having right now is staffing, and that's a nationwide problem. People aren't stepping up to this profession like they have in the past. So we, like everybody else around us, is struggling. Question?
Always. When you talk about the aggravated assault, and you put in the police officers, so how many assaults have there been on the police officers out of this 17?
Honestly, I don't have that stat for how many
Okay.
were assaulted against us.
So there's not I'm assuming MSP doesn't have an index for a
Well,
line
aggravated
item?
assault is an index crime,
Right,
but they don't break it down by
to the police
assault on
officer.
officers.
So we don't know how many out of the 17 aggravated assaults actually include police officers,
I do not,
correct?
I don't have that figure tonight with me now.
Okay.
I see our hound is 10 years old. Do we have a plan going forward to retrain another officer with another dog?
We do, we don't, we're already looking at grants, and we don't wanna be premature and, push Nyko out the door. Canine Officer Lapham's here tonight, but, we're keeping a close eye on it, and we suspect within the next year or less.
We have a new police dog trainer in Fowlerville that just moved up from Ann Arbor. Good one.
Yeah.
So with that, I think Officer Lapham has done it for nearly 10 years now, so I think he's ready to move on. So, any other questions?
Any other questions? Come on, guys, don't just leave me out there hanging. Nope. Says I'm the only one. Is there somebody else? And Sherry, thank you. Apparently not.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. I love the Norman Rockwell picture.
It's cute.
Okay. All right, we're on 14, I think, is that right, for unfinished business? Items of introduction. Oh, board meeting rules. You are all so good about keeping track
I gotta remember.
of where, now don't fail me now. No pressure.
Where's your notes?
Well, I got lots of notes, they're just not.
6-4,
Are we going back to that
We ended
before
at
we do
6.3.
this other stuff?
What other
Going back
things?
to what?
To the board rules?
That's on the agenda, that's what she's
No.
going to right now.
Boy.
It's on the agenda.
How long do we want?
Does we
Last
have
time
to-
we said an hour.
Is this the
that
order
what
we have
wanna
to go
do?
in, though, is what I'm asking, not?
It's on the, that's how we
It says
approved
no
it.
attachment, which means nobody nobody has
Well,
the board minutes, so, yeah. I
I'm
guess
sorry, I missed that
that's-
totally, that.
We're looking for board minutes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're,
Yeah.
rules.
rules.
The
board
rules.
Rules of order, no attachment.
Because they were
Items
given
of
to you
introduction.
previously.
But what does that have to do with minutes?
It doesn't, it, what my question would be, we have guests here, and if this is a forever long project,
Well, we had said no longer than an hour. Do we want to change that?
Yeah,
I
what
guess
I
that's
want,
a
I'm
vote
asking you
amongst
guys
us.
if we want to change the order of things, because we have some guests here, I know, and we have some things that we wanted to get through.
I don't know.
That the possibility to discuss whether to change the order is,
Well, we
I'm
should've
sorry,
did
I
that
missed,
before.
I missed it, I'm sorry, my fault. We have some guests here for senior center expansion, we have the camera systems, all that, the board rules. In fact, we did talk about at the last meeting of putting the rule discussion, because that's endless,
put
at
it
the
on
end, on hold until we get other business. We did talk about that, we
did
just
talk about
missed it
but I
here.
don't know that it-
This is what we agreed to do, though.
It's my understanding you wanted on board, you wanted it under items for introduction and discussion, unfinished business, every meeting not to exceed an hour.
But did we agree on an order? Because in this order, we won't get done with anything else.
This
Well,
is
we can
where
change
I
it.
Well, the
understood
agenda
it was
is
supposed to go.
Accepted unless you want to rescind.
I mean, we accepted it this way.
I know.
If it says no more than an hour, that's what we agreed upon. We can just say a half hour, at 7:30, we're done.
You guys want to sit for an hour?
I mean,
I would make a motion that we bring it back to the next meeting at this point, or if we have time at the end because we get done, I would like to make the motion, we postpone it.
table it.
Table it, yes. Thank you.
Second.
Table to next meeting.
Table to the next meeting, whatever,
And then we'll have to decide.
the order, when we set it up, yeah, okay.
Okay. So should be an L.
Whatever you want, that works.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Venus Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
All right, we have the ARPA plan proposals. Now, just so it's understood, and so I make sure I understand it. So each person, for example, Mr. Zeeb is going to give an explanation to the keyless census. Chief Smith, you already did yours, but you have the protective shields, is that correct? So he's gonna do, and then the hazardous pay is, who's gonna do hazardous pay?
Officer Lapham.
Officer Lapham?
Stand up, no, okay. And then Judy, you're here, and you're gonna talk on the expansion along with our architect, who's going to be here. Okay. All right. Yes, Mr. You are sitting there so stiff. Come right up to the podium.
So the access control project came about earlier this year. And, you know, the police department's a big supporter of this, but I'll just kind of give you a basic overview of the project, and then if you guys have any questions, you can shoot them. So the access control, we're looking at doing keyless entry for all the exterior doors within the campus of the township. That would include the township office, the police department, DPW garage, senior center, and fire department. So all 5 buildings that are on this campus, and that's the only doors. With a select few interior doors at the police department, which contain sensitive material or data, excuse me, as well as any of the IT rooms or anything like that. It's basically going to give one key to employees, board members, which is a programmable device that you can upload certain credentials to access different doors. So police officers' credentials will be different than other office staff here, board members, depending on, you know, and that can be as specific as you want that to get. So, you know, from one door up to, we have about 30 exterior doors here, which we're looking at doing. And there's about a dozen interior doors in this project. There's so many different ways that you can program these keys, it's kind of endless. And it's gonna be a huge benefit to us, where if we have to rekey the building, which we found out earlier this year, we had a poor record of where all our keys were, so we ended up changing out locks in this building. which is costly. They're $15 to $20 a piece for each key. And every time there's an event and we need to rekey, it's gonna add up to a lot of money. With this system, you'll be able to go into the software, select a user, either grant or deny them access to any or all the buildings and doors, and just with the click of a button. It's very manageable. If somebody loses their keys, we can deactivate the keys and assign them a new one. There's a big increase in safety and security to this building and the people that work here. And not only that, the public. There's also a ability to lock down the system. If there was, for some, event or act of violence or something like that, somebody came in, there'd be a panic button per se in the reception area. Someone can hit that button, lock all the doors for entry other than police access. So the police officers would still have access during that lockdown. Everybody else's would be denied during that time. You can also schedule the building to be open, to automatically open during business hours. So the front door here would automatically open at 8 o'clock, and you would build that schedule into all the buildings based on our work hours, senior center hours, holiday hours. You can program all that into it, so there's no leaving doors left open. There's no trying to go back and find out who left the door open and why it was accessed in the first place. You can, you'll also be able to get alerts. So if a door is propped open for a certain period of time, you can set that time limit. If it's propped open or left open, you'll be able to, somebody, whoever has access to the control board, or will get an alert, whether it's superintendent or police or public works or whoever's monitoring that system. They'll get an alert. We can then check on that door. It's not going to alert to a security system and sound an alarm or anything like that, but it will give somebody an alert that there's been a door open, or in the case that there's been a door forced or breached without proper credentials. There'll also be an alert sent. You can run reports of who accessed the building at what times, and there's, from my understanding, is almost as programmable as the keys themselves. You can run reports to however you want, what times, what doors. So it's kind of a very modular, open system. However, we want to tailor it to our needs. So that's the access control portion of the project. A separate project with the same company that we have gotten bids from is the replace our cameras, existing cameras, what we have now, with a system that will hold more data, will hold up to 3 months worth of data. Our current system right now holds about 4 to 5 days of data, depending on how many cameras are being used at that time. Right now we have about 10 cameras on our biggest system, and we only get a few days of worth of footage. So if we go to this new system, there'll be a proposed 112 terabytes of storage, which will get us about 3 months worth of storage of video. And this is just to propose to replace our existing cameras at this point. This will also allow for expansion of additional cameras, and it will have sufficient storage. As you add cameras, you decrease the amount of days that you have footage for. If there's any questions, that's about it.
As usual. When you talk about, Ben, when you're talking about the police department, thank goodness you're here, Gary, is that something we do, the township?
What's that?
Locks and unlocks the police department's doors?
Do we unlock their doors?
Yeah.
There's certain people that have access to those doors.
Okay.
But during business hours, that's office staff of the police department to unlock the front door. But there's various people that have access to the police department that are not police employees.
Yeah, when you want to go in and see Christie, for example, you just open the door and go in. So we don't know who's opening or closing that door, right? Is that,
Which door,
yeah, that's what I guess I was asking, if there's any way, and apparently there isn't. All right, when your PD goes in and out of the door, how does that work for them? Is that door that can't be open all the time? That has to be.
the front door is,
No, I'm talking about their back door.
the
like when
back
they-
door is a key scan. It is a keyless access
So
currently.
they also have to have, all the police officers have to have a key to, you know.
Keyless
be
entry.
saying
It is a
that.
key fob.
It's a key fob?
It's a key fob.
My
The back-
apologies.
The back door is a keyless access.
I thought it was a punch code, I'm sorry.
No,
The
that's,
front door,
That's
where
what I'm
Christie's
trying
at, that's up to her discretion, who comes in and who does not. She can she can open that door.
oh, I see, so she,
But the lobby itself is open to the public.
that's, yeah.
During
well, it's always-
business.
So that's the same as it's always been, okay. But it was curious as to how that would work with the PD coming and going. If that's something we're responsible for doing. That I wasn't sure, but I think you've answered that question. That will maneuver itself as time goes on.
So when somebody comes in with the fob, they're identified, it's me, or in every door, every fob is identified when they come and when they go.
Not
And then-
necessarily when they go.
Well, oh, not when they go.
No.
Okay, when they come in, it's identified. And this is, I'm assuming, is stored on a computer somewhere. One computer, two computers?
I'm not
fi-
familiar with the
On our
hardware that
servers.
goes along
Okay,
with
and-
with the system.
and
It'll be
then-
on a server somewhere.
Okay,
'Cause
and
that
then
was a similar
we have
question.
to decide who has access to that computer, I presume. That's the thought of the whole system to me, is who gets to see this and for what purposes ongoing. It's just a question of the whole system, like we talked about
Yeah,
before.
somebody will have access to it.
Somebody.
Most likely there'll be a redundancy where there's more than one person that has access to it, so.
I'm gonna question what you said, because you talked about an automatic open and close. So we won't know, someone's going to come in the morning and open it, correct?
Sure.
Then it becomes an automatic
They don't-
open?
They don't have to come
No.
in.
Okay.
It will
No,
automatically
it'll be,
unlock at 8.
it can be scheduled. So,
So-
basically on a clock, at 8 AM, the doors unlock.
Unlock, and then they
At 5
close.
PM,
they
they
close at 5.
close. If there's any meetings or anything like that, you can build all of that into that program, if you wish. So like, regular board meetings, it could stay open, until 6 or 10. It's a public meeting, so we can program any of the public hours
I
into
see.
that system. So you don't have to scan your card
Every
during
time you
business, during
come in.
normal business hours, no.
That's what I was wondering. That was the thought.
It's all a choice of how you set it up, I gather.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you could set it up so everybody has to scan to come in.
well, it's a public
But
building,
it's
so you
No,
have to have
so
it
you
that's
open.
what
can't.
I'm-
You have to
That's
have it
what I'm
open.
saying. But even at that, they're not, I'm not public, you're not public. We're employees.
Right, but it's
Right.
open
But it's open anyway.
It's open for the
That's-
public to come to a meeting,
Right,
so it needs to be,
exactly.
we can't lock them out.
So that defeats the purpose in a sense.
Not after hours.
This is,
No, not after hours, this is before you get, so I'm trying to, like you say, we.
the buildings will be open normally from however they are now set up. The
So we all
buildings will
just
be
walk
open.
in?
You can walk in, it's a
Okay.
public building, you
That's-
can walk in. This system will grant access to doors that are locked during normal business hours and after hours.
Okay.
There are doors that are locked that have sensitive material.
Correct.
That have, other places in this township campus that not everybody has access to.
Right. But if I come in, say at 9 or 10 o'clock and it's open, then nobody knows I'm here.
No,
Okay, no? Yeah, that's what I mean, no one knows I'm here. Okay, no, that's what I'm trying to figure out. As to how that-
there will not be a swipe. It will not show that you were here. Whether you were here, if it shows up on camera, I guess I don't know.
So
I
that's the
don't follow
difference.
where you're going there.
Well, that's the difference between the swipe in the legislature. We had swipes. So they knew when we came and when we left. basically. We don't have that. What you're talking about is it'll automatically open, people can come and go, obviously because this is a public building. So people will come and go, employees included. It's not the same, so there's no swipe. It's just a fob that opens the door, correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's,
When it's locked.
okay, yes, okay. Like I say, that's different than, as we have to swipe every time you come in or leave or.
Yeah. You're not gonna require people to swipe in public spaces. If you were to go to a
Nope,
restricted area, then you probably have to swipe in and out.
Okay, no, that's what I needed to know. That was, so there is a difference between a swipe and a fob?
No,
No?
it's all gonna be fob-based. It'll
Right,
be-
that's what I mean.
so,
Yep,
Just whatever language you wanna use.
yep.
You will have a
gotcha.
keyless access.
Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. You have 3 different bids in here. Is there one
Well-
that you prefer over the others?
If you
And
look-
what's the reasoning?
If
and-
you look at,
Thank you.
KBO, and it was paired up with United
Okay.
Electric Contractors to do the raceways and hauling their cabling. But in the KBO's bid, they're also providing a fiber optic connection from building to building, from all of our buildings, a new fiber optic. So that would enhance our capabilities to communicate within the buildings, to have access to all of our servers at all the buildings, and also provide enough high-speed data for our camera system to be all interlinked within one system.
So you're preferring KVO at this point from looking at?
And they're kind of a middle-of-the-road price, but they're also including fiber optic, which none of the other 2 companies propose.
Well, that is this is Wednesday, April 26th. This is September, so this really is no good.
And these are baseline quotes. These are just to
Nope,
get numbers. They're not hard numbers that we're gonna use tomorrow. Obviously, prices change, and there's inflation. There's other factors that go into that price. Most likely, this will go out to bid for a sealed bid, and we'll get hard bids. These
No,
are
I was
not,
just looking at the numbers. When it said April, I thought, whoa.
yeah, like I said, this project's been going on for quite a while.
Okay, nope, that helps enormously. Thank you. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ben, appreciate it. For taking the time to do it.
Thanks, Ben.
All right, this one is the Police Department Protective Shield.
He's got a demonstration.
He's got an example.
Get it out of the bag. Oh, we got a sample per diem. Have to hold the whole thing up.
What do you think about some of the company ideas? Not very big.
Wait, I want to see one.
Pretty neat.
So the proposal in front of you is for 5 shields, which would give us the capability to have 1 shield in every patrol car that we currently have. So we currently have 1 shield right now that's, you guys probably know it's better than us, but I'm guessing it's 2 decades old, outdated, probably rated for pistol fire only. It's heavy and cumbersome. The shield, the manufacturer that manufactures the shield is right here, based in Michigan. When MSU's incident happened earlier this year, we responded to their call for assistance immediately, and we had 1 shield for all the officers our officers that were there. This would give us the capability to keep 1 shield in every patrol car. And these shields here, the new ones, are rated for pistol and rifle fire, so. Currently, with active violent incidents, the training the officers take is ever evolving as we get more and more of these. Currently, the training is when there is active gunfire against civilians, that our officers are trained to rush in and stop the gunfire, to stop the killing. So these shields, having 1 in every car, would certainly save lives in that incident.
Is that shield better than a second chance?
You talking about body armor?
Yes.
Body armor is not rated for rifle fire, so this is surely better than that. So,
Really?
yes.
Okay.
That's it. Better than the ones we got. But, yeah. So typically, yeah, this one here is rated for both pistol and rifle fire. So,
Could you do a price so us in the peanut gallery now?
you want, yeah, so
Yeah, that's what,
ballpark price is about $3,200 per shield, $3,200 per shield, yeah. And typically how shields work is the lighter the shield, the higher the price, so.
right. So how many of those do you need?
Five, one for every patrol car.
And that's what your quote's for, correct?
That is correct.
Well, that's what I was looking at, the 16th. Am I at the wrong place?
No, you're right, 'cause he's
Yeah,
got five and five.
That's what I thought. So it's 16,275.
That is correct.
That's,
And I checked that price before the meeting started today, and it's still valid, yes.
thank
Today.
you.
I know we've discussed these a great deal, without giving anything proprietary away. What is the weight difference between the old shields and this shield?
So without weighing them, I mean, I'm guessing the shield is almost approximately half of the old one we have now.
Wow.
And nobody seems to know what the ballistic rating for the shield that we currently have is, because I think it was an old.
What's the ballistic rating on that one?
This one here is 3A, but it's also rated, certain spots to stop rifle fire as well as pistol fire. So currently, if we have our ballistic vest on and go into a school shooting and they have a rifle, we don't have protection.
No.
So
But you'll have one in each car.
that is the goal, yes.
So at
Five.
least one of your officers per car.
Every officer
will
showing
be
up in a
covered.
car will have one, yes.
Oh. So if you have a two-man car, you take,
Get skinny behind the guy in front of you.
now say that to me one more time, so I catch it.
You get behind the guy in front of you that has a shield,
Yeah,
so.
that's exactly right. That would have been my line, but as long as you got it, that's good. So basically, they're saying there's $1,700 a piece,
Now you gotta look at,
but it's 3,200.
you gotta look at the two lines. One of them's just a shield, then there's upgraded panel on it for the rifle fire.
Right, that's,
So,
and that was 15.
That's
All
why it's
right.
3,200, okay. Yeah, the
But he
17 and the
says
15.
32.
3,200 for shield.
No, that's what he's saying, but that's not what's listed, I don't think.
Add those two.
So what you're, it's a combination of these two then. That's, okay, I would not have combined them.
yeah, cause there's actually two parts. You got the shield itself and then you got the panel in front of it that's added.
Oh, all right, so it actually comes in two parts.
Yeah, this is what you're seeing, the shield here and then the add-on in front.
Gotcha. I wasn't reading it like that. Okay. That's appreciated, thank you. Okay, Mr. Lapham, there you go. Should I do that?
All right, before everybody gets scared, there is a PowerPoint, yes. I am aware of death by PowerPoint, so I promise I made it as quick and efficient as I could. But I needed a PowerPoint for myself just as well. I work night shift. This is not the time for me to be sharp. The sun is still up, so bear with me if you would. But I am Officer Mike Lapham. I work obviously for the police department here. I have the honor and the opportunity to speak with you about this proposal for hazard pay for the officers that work during the COVID pandemic. So while I'm up here talking, this isn't me begging for money, it is all the officers looking for a little bit of compensation for the hardship that we faced working during these pandemic years that are still ongoing. I wanted to start by talking about eligibility. For those of you that don't know, these ARPA funds are a bit controlled in how municipalities can use them. One of the provisions is, quote, premium pay for essential workers. You'll notice on there I list premium pay as being also thought of as hazard pay. I kind of think that's a little bit more fitting, considering this is compensation for the hazards we had to endure while working during especially the early years of COVID when we didn't really know what it was that we were facing. But you can see there kind of a quote from the federal government. Premium pay is designed to compensate workers that by virtue of their employment were forced to take on additional burdens and make great personal sacrifices as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So that's what kind of brings me here today, is to sort of elaborate on how we fit that category there. So that should read essential workers. I had eligibility on the mind, so I think eligible worker fits too, but it should read essential worker. But we are defined as those workers needed to maintain continuity of operations of essential critical infrastructure sectors and additional sectors as each. Okay, so I'm kind of break that down. Eligible recipients of this must have had regular in-person interactions or regular physical handling of items that were also handled by others. It is no surprise, I'm sure, to anybody in this room here that as a police officer, we do have regular in-person interactions with folks. And sometimes it is a very intimate in-person interaction, and there's a lot of close contact with individuals, qualified customers we may call them sometimes, or the regular physical handling of items that were also handled by others. It is not uncommon for us to have to handle evidence of crimes, recover property for victims, things like that. You can wear a lot of PPE, you can wear gloves, hand sanitizer, all that kind of stuff. But I want to remind you that a lot of the compensation we're looking for through this is from working during the early years of the pandemic when we had no idea how this was transmitted. We had no idea what it would do to you short-term, long-term. You know, I can remind you of stories of airplanes that were quarantined and cruise ships and things like that because they just didn't know how long this virus was going to live on surfaces and things like that. So, you know, we as police officers and other first responders, we were handling a lot of stuff that we had no idea. Didn't know if we carried the virus, didn't know how to protect ourselves from it. So that's kind of the situations we were working in that brings us into this eligibility. Also up there, in order for us to be eligible, the work couldn't be performed while teleworking from a residence. It's no surprise police officers don't work from home. I'm very happy that I don't have to respond to my home while I'm working, and I aim to keep it that way. We also have to have had regular interaction with coworkers, the public, or regular physical handling of items that were handled by the public or coworkers. They mentioned that a couple times in the ARPA ruling law. But yeah, it's no shock that we have coworkers that we work closely with, both in Bath Township and, you know, townships surrounding municipalities. We work closely with our fire department. We work closely with Mercy Ambulance. It's not uncommon for police officers to be down in Sparrow Hospital if we're transporting somebody that's in need of a mental health evaluation or something like that. So we are in Bath Township. We're in residences of Bath Township. We're in the offices of Bath Township. We're also in DeWitt Township, Clinton County, Sparrow Hospital. You name it, a Bath Township officer has probably had to be there during these unprecedented times. So I have a little timeline up there, just kind of what was going around the township here. We are pretty thankful that our township responded in the way that it did, allowing employees to stay at home, to separate themselves from each other, and I think that really helped keep people, for lack of a better word, helped keep people sane around here. When you're at home, you know you're with your family, you know you're a little bit safer, but also first responders didn't have that luxury. Like I said, we didn't get to work from home. Cops don't get to work from home. Fire department doesn't get to work from home. So yeah, we were out and about. And while this was a pretty unprecedented, scary time, it's one thing to be going through it at home with your families. It's a little bit different when you're going through it in everybody else's home and with everybody else's family, you know, not knowing what it is that you're dealing with. So kind of police work during this time was very unique. To minimize exposure to one another, solo shifts became the norm. Here at the township, we try to have at least 2 guys on when we can. It's not always the case, especially right now, as Chief Smith alluded to. Staffing is a little bit tricky at the moment. But during COVID, you know, we tried to do some solo shifts where we could. That impacted response times to calls for service, and it created a bit of an issue of officer safety. Bath Township is a pretty big area, and if there's one of us floating around, it may take a little while for us to get somewhere when it's just one of us responding to calls, especially if we're tied up on a priority call. Luckily, we have a very good relationship with DeWitt Township Police, with Clinton County Sheriff's Office, and the state police. We all help each other out quite a bit. But still, it's our responsibility to keep the communities, the residences, and the businesses of Bath Township safe. So we're capable of doing that solo, but it's not, you know, the easiest thing in the world. So When feasible, calls were handled by phone, but more often than not, 911 calls require police to be physically present and often result in physical contact with persons or items touched by others. You know, somebody calls in a larceny, something like that. At the time, you know, we could handle it by telephone, but for anybody here in this room that's ever called 911 and expected a police officer to show up, getting a phone call from a police officer just doesn't have the same effect. You know, most people, if they call the police, they want a cop to show up. They want 2, they want 3, they want 4 probably. So for us to handle these things by phone kept us safer, kept the public safer, but, you know, the perception was, you know, we're not showing up to stuff that we generally like to take in person. We like to show up to things in person just so that our community is reminded that we are here for you, we care about you, and we're vested in whatever it is that you called us for. Officers would have to return home to their families after working shift and having contact with the public. You're gonna see that come up probably again. This was again during the time that we had no idea what was going on with this virus. We didn't know how long the pandemic was going to occur. We didn't know how short-lived it was going to be, what the long-term effects of it were going to be. Our families didn't have a choice because we were out working, we were out in the community, we were out being exposed to this thing, and we were coming home to our families. And we all had some unique system set up for how we were going to decontaminate ourselves, probably in our garages at home when we got back. But the end of it is we had no idea if what we were doing was enough. And I'll touch on this in a minute. All of us, I'm pretty sure everybody at the police department had COVID at least once, if not multiple times, and family members faced the same. And these were family members that were adhering to the lockdown, they were adhering to the stay-at-home order. So how did they get sick? Probably the people that were out and about who didn't have that opportunity. So, so just a little bit more about police work during the timeline. We were working during the pre-vaccination time, so we were just out there basically hoping that the mask and gloves were gonna do enough. We didn't have the research on COVID-19 to kind of point us in the right direction on how we should be handling things. The severity of contracting the virus were unknown. You know, we'll see that some people it was basically like a bad cold, and some people significantly worse, and I'm going to touch on that. Like I said, we returned home to our families and loved ones with uncertainty and how transmissible the virus would be. We didn't know if we were cleaning ourselves up well enough, and in some cases, it was very clear that we didn't do a good enough job because we had family members that were afflicted by this. So again, there are multiple officers and their families would testify the lives were forever changed due to COVID-19 exposure at work. Not surprisingly, in 2021, COVID was the leading death of police officers in the United States, totaling at 301 deaths. Chief Smith was up here just a moment ago with a super nice shield that all of us are very excited about because it protects us against a threat. It protects us against multiple threats. It's something that we can take into a situation and protect our community with. This thing, we couldn't protect ourselves really against it. There's 301 officers that realize that. It was a serious thing for us, and that's just for cops. Firefighters, paramedics, you know, they had the same thing going on. So as I said, most of us contracted COVID. I'm pretty sure everybody at least had it once. A few of us had it multiple times, and family members kind of, they faced the same fate as well. This part here, I apologize for the awkwardness if I get a little bit choked up. Nothing I can do about that, so let's just all bear with me. We lost several friends. Officer Wilson, Mike, he was with us for 25 years and succumbed to COVID in May 23, 21. Sergeant Willie Darnell, very close friend, 11/4/20. He served for 15 years and was top cop 2009. James Swindlehurst, with Township firefighter paramedic. We work closely with James through his capacity of DeWitt Township Fire and Mercy Ambulance. If Kevin Douglas were here, he would have nothing but good things to say about James. He was very well liked in the first responder community. So we have some eligible staff. I've listed them up there. It's no surprise. It's just all of us that work during this thing. People that had to come in contact with the public and like I said, handle items, things like that. We have a couple officers that came in during the COVID, which was extremely interesting for them, I'm sure. They didn't get a chance to have a normal career in police work before all this happened, a benefit that some of us got to have. So I'm almost done here, I promise. Like I said, I was gonna try to keep it quick. If you wanna move. So ARPA fund use. It's my understanding Bath Township received a total of $1,361,110 in ARPA funds. As you see there, the ARPA funds are eligible to provide premium pay, or as like I call it, hazard pay, for up to $13 an hour or $25,000 per worker in additional wages for essential employees performing an essential function during the pandemic. I won't reread the definition that I had there for essential workers, but you can probably remember it from a couple minutes ago. From March 17th to the 21st in 2020, township offices were closed to the public, but the average police officer still worked 18 pay periods, about 84 hours during that period, for a total of 1,512 hours worked. Again, these were not hours worked from home. These were hours out in the community. These were hours out in people's homes. These were hours out dealing with the same criminals that we get to deal with now. We had just as many no people during this as we do now. And as Chief Smith brought to your attention, our index crimes are on the rise, and attacks against police officers is at a pretty high level right now across country. So our math that we got here, the 1,512 hours times the allotted $13 of premium pay comes out to $19,656. So we put it up there. We did $20,000 per 12 officers. That would come out to a total of $240,000, which is only approximately 17.63% of the total ARPA funds. Just another figure up there, $15,000 for each officer, 12 officers, $180,000, which is only approximately 13.22% of the total ARPA funds received by the township. It would be, that would kind of be like the total number we're looking for. How it would be, distributed out to the officers would be up for discussion. So, our proposal goal, basically to wrap all this up.
Sorry, I was asked to go back.
Oh, I'm sorry.
The numbers you have up here are different than the ones we have in our packet, so I just wanted to make sure I had the right. It looks like there's one more person in your proposal here.
Yeah, so the packet you may have there may be the pre-amended one that we had. We did do a little bit of switching around, so the numbers will be a little bit different, because there was an addition of a person that got left out accidentally, so. Okay. Yes.
Just curious, is this tax-free income to our officers, or is it taxed normally?
I don't think that it is. I think it would be taxed normally, yeah.
Tax-free?
No.
Oh, it's not
No.
tax-free, okay.
Yep.
Can't be.
No. Yeah, this is just a hazard pay. They didn't put any other provisions on it like that, so. Just kind of wrap it up, I wanted to paint a clear picture to all of you that the officers working during the pandemic should be eligible for compensation for being an essential worker performing an essential function, which is one of the few approved uses of the ARPA funds the township has been granted. It'll aid in retention and show that Bath Township takes care of their first responders and their families. And it's also a positive look for potential applicants looking for a department to work at. I don't want to press on it again, but as Chief Smith said, staffing's very difficult right now, and we need to have something that shows this is a department to come work for. People in the community, whether they be recruits or work for other departments, already know that Bath Township is a great place to work. You ask anybody that works here, we love it here. We have good training, our equipment is good, the community is fantastic. I'm always proud to tell people that when I'm driving around, I get waved at with all 5 fingers, and I don't just get called number 1. You don't get that very often, especially south of here. So people see that we are a good place to work for, but everybody needs a little bit more kind of push. And when we're able to go and, as people talk or however it works, people see that we're being taken care of by our township like that. That's a pretty big deal, because you talk to a lot of officers and they'll say that, their department might take care of them, but they might not get the same respect out of, whatever their higher up councils may be called. So, I think there's a ton of benefit into considering this proposal for us here, for the officers, for the families. And we at the police department love this community. We obviously put ourselves in certain situations for this community. We're happy to do it. Just, if there's an eligible compensation for the strenuous time of working it during that pandemic, we wanted to just kind of share it with all of you as well. So what questions do we have? Yes?
You'll go ahead.
Are you sure?
Yep, go ahead.
I noticed in the list here again in the packet, it didn't have our current chief or the former chief. Are one of those the folks added in the updated proposal?
Current chief, yep. Yep,
But
Chief
not,
Smith.
not the former chief?
So there would be, we'd have to look into hours worked on that. This was generally for folks that still continue to work the road, weren't able to telecommunicate from home, things like that. The past chief had a little bit more discretion in some of that stuff, not that he didn't come into the office, things like that. But there would just need to be a little bit more looking into, how his hours compare to the hours of the road officers.
And that's true of the administrative person as well?
Correct. Christie still had to come in. She still had to have contact with the public. A lot of you, the PPE is still placed up here for the glass and things like that. She had the benefit of that as well, but she's not immune from having closer contact with individuals, fingerprinting, things like that. She still has to take items from individuals. Sort of what was listed out, one of the provisions here is that you have to touch items that were handled by members of the public.
Are some of these officers now gone from the force?
We do have some retired officers on there. I appreciate you bringing that up. So Gregory Welch, being one of them. Yeah, my list is in here somewhere. Yeah, Gregory Welch being the, currently retired on the list here. So Trent Bailey has also, retired since this was put together. He's got his own thing going on. But yeah, the roster here as it stands is fairly accurate.
To current.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for your hard work during the pandemic.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Very quick question.
Yes.
The 301 that you speak of, is that national?
Yes, across the board, yep. So, and that's just in our, United States. So if I could give you a worldwide number,
No, that's,
sure it would be significantly different, a little bit higher, so,
just wasn't sure.
yeah.
Any other
Good.
questions?
All right.
We
I'd
can
also,
go on.
just on behalf of the police department too, I'd like to give our condolences to the board, to the people of Bath Township as a whole, and to the Benzie family for our loss. I mean, I could say a lot of good things about the guy, he was a fantastic man, but it's pretty much all already been said, so I'll just leave it at that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now, do you have to go to work tonight?
I do not. No, I got that out of the way last night.
Good man. All right, Judy, you're up next. Senior Center
Marie.
expansion.
Marie.
I'm sorry.
Karen, could you get us a number of the firemen that worked?
You'll be receiving their proposal next time,
Oh, okay, thank you.
their presentation, sorry.
Okay.
I have this broken down into the estimate, the floor plan, the photos, and then the statistics, so you just need to let me know what you need.
Okay, I'm just gonna do an overview at the beginning.
Okay.
Thank you. We are excited to be here tonight. We feel like we've been working with you on this project for a long time. The data, we don't actually have to look at the pictures, because we'll just, the data charts that I shared with you over the weekend that are in your packets clearly show an increase in the meal service at the senior center. Even if you just look at the average of 12 days a month from August of '22 being 696 meals a month to July of '23 being 876 meals a month. I was quite surprised when I added those monthly numbers out to really realize how many meals the staff at the senior center is putting out of the kitchen for our seniors. The program is growing quickly and steadily, and we're quickly outgrowing the senior center. And for some people, I feel like, especially those who come in for takeaways, they feel like there's really no room at the table for them, and so they take their meal away rather than staying in the senior center to eat. Tonight I have a team with us. Liz Harrow, she's our architect, and Alan Ingram, he put the estimates together for the building. These are current estimates. They came in the last 2 weeks. They're from local contractors. You'll see from the architect's presentation that the addition includes many of the changes that were recommended during your community engagement process. It also includes the needed kitchen upgrades to meet the increasing demands on the kitchen, and a full basement for storage and other opportunities that will come in the future. I know you've all had these materials for a few days, and I'm sure you've had a chance to look them over. So after Liz talks about the floor plan and we look at the renderings, then we'll take some questions.
I know, let's show the floor plan. Here is the existing building. We come in through here. This is the office where people check in. This is the existing kitchen that was improved a few years ago with a grant that the senior center won. And the idea is that we'll add on this building, this room here, that will be that will have a fireplace, some bookcases, that will have a gathering space that can also be used for additional tables. And then over here, I'm sorry if you're on that side. Oh, you're doing it with the cursor too, thanks.
Yeah.
We'll have some kind of screen and so that there'll be times to have movie showings or game nights or things like that. Right now, as Judy said, this area is completely packed at lunchtime, and the mission of the senior center is to make it easier to continue to live in your own home. And I think one of the biggest things is, well, besides food, is sociability. And so it's not enough to bring that food home or to get Meals on Wheels. I think people really need to be joining others for a meal in the middle of the day. It is sort of a shame that everybody has to drive to get here, and that is an issue. I think parking is going to be our biggest challenge on this site. But we are looking at that and procuring a site plan to find some ways to add some necessary parking spaces. That little plan up at the top, that's existing. This is the proposed new. If you go to the renderings, yeah. So this was built before we were asked. I mean, these drawings were created before we were asked for the. Oh no, sorry, that's not true. This one has the. I was looking at that flat part of it, but you see here, this is the walkout basement. We would have a stair in that one corner, and then we would let people out. Have that be an emergency exit, but also an access. The basement is not for social use. It's only for storage because organizations like this and like Bath Township probably accumulated a certain amount of gear that needs a place. And because the hill does fall down there, we're able to have it be a walkout. And basically, it looks like a big house, and it'll be built like a big house. The original building was pole barn construction. This will be standard stud construction.
1,900 square feet.
Oh yeah, I should say that I've got these notes here, that it's almost 2,000 square feet, 1983 square feet. And it'll cost about $520,000 to build. And we do think that we don't need when we do the math, we think that we can find those additional parking spaces. Are there any questions? Yes.
Would the basement be possibly used as a tornado shelter also, or not? We talked about that a little bit.
Oh, that is actually, that's a perfectly possible idea.
Okay,
Yeah, that would
yeah.
it'd be perfectly reasonable to do that, especially
We don't have
if this door is a solid door. Not
Right, and we don't have one
which is
now,
what-
that's what,
right.
I
Yeah, no,
thought that was,
that's a very
that's
good point.
why
Yeah.
we talked about it before.
Yeah, that's definitely, it definitely should and could be, yeah. Yep. As long as we can get, we don't have an elevator. We can't afford an elevator, so everybody would have to be able-bodied enough to get down by stairs, yes.
Quick question. Fireplace. Is that wood, gas?
No, it would either be gas or electric. It would be something that looked like you see in the cafes nowadays, that looks like a fire. Maybe it'll be a video of a fire. No.
Is there a reason for that?
It makes it feel warm and people feel happy.
And
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah, comfortable, right.
And it came from the suggestions during the community conversation.
No,
Yeah.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
So basically, if it's gas or electric, it could be used to heat.
It can be, and in fact, there are some that heatilators do actually
Yes.
provide some heat and throw some heat out.
Yeah.
It depends on how, it really depends.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah, I think it'll be really pleasant. And again, I like the idea that there are two places where we could have gathering areas, but also spillover seating, because they're cracking at the seams.
One of the things that I think that, I'm not sure you mentioned it, Liz, is that we did have a partial kitchenette put in there, because we see this
Oh, that's a good
portion
point.
of the senior center being accessible for people for lunches or dinners after funerals in the cemetery. So we could close that section off, and then there would be a small kitchenette that people could use to access during those special events.
It could be rented, it could be borrowed. And then the other thing is we do have two small meeting rooms for more private meetings.
Yes.
This little kitchenette here, and then a handicap accessible bathroom, and then a little bit more storage for the existing kitchen. That's a walk-in cooler and a freezer.
Oh, that would be that vacant space.
This space here, yeah.
Yes.
So we're adding on to the storage for the
It's
kitchen.
in addition to the kitchen that they need, because we continue to increase the number of people that we serve.
And they
We have-
need more food storage areas for cooking.
Oh, so you're actually talking 2 areas to feed them?
No,
No,
this
oh,
is
when you
just,
said
this
storage.
kitchenette is just almost like a catering kitchen
Yes.
for when there are events here, people could have warming trays or
trays.
something. But this is the kitchen here, it just needs a little bit of additional cold storage, freezer storage.
Gotcha.
We've also included the possibility of a pickup window, so that people could just go to the outside of the kitchen, to a kitchen pickup window, if the weather was agreeable, or that's what people needed.
And we're talking about
Right
it here, but it is not a drive-through. We've all been, every time we've seen that, somebody's imagined a drive-through, but the idea is that actually it might be easier, it might happen here, but we're working on that idea of people being able to pick up their meals without coming in.
So you're talking, they'll pick up their food?
It will not be a drive-through, it'll just
No,
be that they
that's-
park and they get out and
Get out.
pick up their stuff.
Thank you.
Right, from the outside.
Nice job.
And the builders here who developed the cost estimates, if you have any questions about those, Alan Ingram here.
He's a fine home builder.
And he's sitting right behind you, right? Now, are you looking, explain this to me, are you looking for this as being a final product, or are you looking for takeaways as you,
Looking for what?
takeaways? In other words, it's like.
For
when you-
reactions
when you-
or
when you
for a
look at your
final
home,
approval?
There are things that you
I
say,
think
that's a
that any
takeaway.
blueprint is fluid.
Okay,
You know, just like that takeout window, there are advantages and disadvantages to that. If we had a staff person in the kitchen who could hand those meals out, there would be a way, there would have to be a way for them to be paid for. There are little things that, you'd have to tweak to make it work, and I think that you have to look at this as a work in progress.
Okay.
But we were intending to bring you as close as possible to rendering as we could, to get
A real-
firm
a real-
idea of what it would cost.
Right, a real
For
budget.
this expansion that we've been talking about for 10 years.
Only 10?
10.
You're doing really well.
Marie, we got 2 of us.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, trustee.
Thank you. Could you help me understand the math in the chart on, well, I don't know what page it's on, but it shows the actual versus average?
On the meal service at the senior center?
Yeah, I don't understand the difference in the numbers.
Which
I don't,
chart are you looking at? The one that says average of 12 days monthly total?
mm-hmm,
That one? In every month, there are 4 weeks, and in every week, there are 3 days that we serve. So on an average, there would be 12 days a month that we would serve. We have snow days, we have cleaning the building days, so not every day, not every month has 12 days. And so the data fluctuates. So we thought, well, we'll just take average 12 days a month times the number of meals that we're serving on a daily basis that month to provide a monthly average that you could just look at.
how does the average in the first month, how is that so far below the actual?
because it was closed some days, we had it was very confusing to look at the data when we had, say, one month had 12 serving days, and then you look at another month and you don't recognize that there's only 8 serving days. So when you looked at the total for the month, it was very confusing. Judy and I talked about it, that really what you want to look at is in the average day that you serve, how many is your average for the month? And that's what this number over here did, is not count the total meals for the month, say, for instance, which it was totally misleading, because that's what I said too. It's like, we served less meals in July this year than we did July last year because we were closed for a bunch of days. So it was very unclear to just look at those numbers and grasp what was real. So that's why they came up with this average, and it's confusing the way it comes across.
So you're saying, so say, August 22 was 812. You then broke that down by the actual days?
Right, if there were 12 serving days, what was the average for that month?
But like if there was 15.
Then you'd still make
divide
it
by
12. Yeah,
Got it.
divide it. So it was much more accurate to what was really happening each day there. If that makes sense. Because I looked at it and I told Judy, I said, this is crazy, we served less meals in July this year than we did July last year.
The number of serving
Because
days?
we were closed, we were not open as many days to count the total.
Right.
So it was,
Right, but you didn't serve 876 meals in July of '23. That's that multiplied by 12 factor.
right, it would be the average.
Okay, thank you.
If it was open, what would you be doing if you were open the normal? Make all the months the same somehow.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Nope, well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, the process with this, if I'm understanding, Karen, what you set up, is these 4 have made their pitch, for lack of better way of putting it. Now you'll have 4 more.
You'll have the remainder of them come at the next meeting to
Okay.
present. Correct.
Okay, so what's the remainder?
The ones that are on the list
it's
she
on
gave
That's
us.
what I was looking at,
It's,
that list to see.
Yep. That's the sirens,
Yeah. Because I've got the list.
sidewalks, premium, I got that.
Boat launch, beach improvement.
Beach
nature
improvement, boat
trail.
launch, nature
Yeah.
trail, Westwasser
Everything on the
Park.
second page.
There's more
Many
than
of them will
4.
be by the same person, which is Benzie.
Fancy.
More than 4, actually.
Yeah.
So actually, we're looking at two more meetings?
No,
No, I think Ben can do it all next.
Because those are all more small.
Oh,
I mean, they're not like,
well, so then,
and Ben's doing all those.
he'll be doing several of them.
Okay.
Yep, that's correct. The boat launch, the beach improvements, Westwasser Park multi-sport court, Westwasser Park Port and Place, and the kayak launch. He'll be handling those.
okay, so nature trail, they'll only be allowed X amount of time?
Actually, because I funded them in the budget, I didn't plan to include them.
Oh, okay. Because of funding. Okay.
Is there anything else you funded in the budget? Karen, I know we're not there yet.
I don't believe so.
Did you do the sidewalks in the DDA?
Sidewalk.
In the DDA, but not along Park Lake
Oh,
Road.
okay.
Yeah, and the DDA is not,
Just the downtown, okay.
yeah, well, that's only X amount of dollars, that's not enough to spit at, actually. But
You can fix the sidewalks on Main Street.
It's $150,000 I put in the
I
budget.
know, it's
Yeah.
still
Okay.
not compared to whatever else is there. Okay, nope, that helps enormously.
Marie?
Yes.
Before we go on, I got a message from someone watching at home, and they think some of our microphones are off, so I just wanted to mention that.
Or not close enough.
Mine's on. Yours isn't on.
Yours,
Well, mine was on in the beginning, and then I just turned it off. Yours is off too? Okay. I asked if everybody's hearing me, and they said yes. I said, okay. I'm gonna go, thank you, tell whoever it was that that's appreciated. Okay. All right. Let's see what we've got, new business.
We're still at items for action for unfinished business.
I was gonna say, is that,
14B, the very top
Which
one.
is right at
Very-
the top of the screen.
oh, because that's. A and B. That's mine, excuse me. So what I'm looking for, obviously, items for action, and I'm going to reiterate it, supervisor's office, and I can vote on that. It's just the money one I can't vote on, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
This is a
Wanted to
facilities
make sure.
decision. Yes.
Okay. So it says, I again requesting that I be returned to my office, for which I maintained since November 20th of 2020. And I understand that this office has been repurposed before my criminal trial, which I was found innocent, July 25th of 2023. So again, I am going to ask for a vote, and this is renewing, just so you have it correctly. It's called renewing the motion. Okay, got it? Okay. So I need a second.
Second.
Yes, question.
I know, we voted on this a couple of times.
Couple times at least.
Is your intent to keep bringing it back every week?
I don't know what my intent is. I'm not really sure at this time.
All right.
Okay.
Do we know when it becomes abuse again?
As I think Madam Supervisor and I spoke about last time, the language is dilatory or absurd. So that is, there's no black and white letter line as to when that might occur. And I trust that this board will sort that out one way or the other, whether Madam Supervisor continues to bring it or not. That'll be up to the board.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion?
Okay, let me
Okay.
repeat it, okay, Marie?
Nope, please
Okay.
do. Make sure
Renewing the
you-
motion to return Supervisor Howe to the same office from which she was removed from,
Correct.
effective August 8th. Effective August 8th, 2023.
Well, you can put it back then, sure.
Okay. Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
No.
Mr. Rosecrans?
No.
Ms. Butler Challenger, no. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
No.
Why? Why? What are you afraid of?
All right, my next one. I apparently, because this is a conflict of interest. Oh, did you vote, Al?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't hear, so,
Yeah,
okay. I'm assuming you were a no.
yes.
Thank you. Okay,
You're welcome.
this, yeah, don't thank me yet. Okay, August 30th, regular board meeting. Okay, this one is an item for action. I'm sorry, what?
Point of order, they're talking, they need to stop.
Point of order, according to the treasurer, you need to stop talking back
I
there.
want you to stop talking.
We can't hear up here.
I can't hear you either, so.
Well,
That makes us even.
mics, we'd be happier.
All right, this one I cannot vote on, so this is entirely up to this group. Items for actions to request the reimbursement for my personal legal fees of $20,120.10.
I would like to make a motion that we save our taxpayers' money by writing up a contract that you cannot sue the township for more money and give you your legal fees back and be done with you with that whole situation.
Cheryl, do you want me to read your motion that you had for this meeting?
Make it shorter.
Make it shorter. I have to approve reimbursement of the supervisor's attorney fees in the amount of $20,102.10 in exchange for a full release of claims from the supervisor.
120.
$20,102.10.
No.
120.
It was 20,120.10.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, that's my motion.
Well
Everybody's
said.
ready?
Apparently, there's not a second, so it dies. Okay. Now we have acceptance of the 2024, 2028 capital improvement.
Euchre playing in the
Oh, we have
senior
one more.
center.
We had
No,
added-
that comes up D.
Oh, they have it on C.
Oh,
I
is
thought
that-
she wanted C.
I flipped them around, I'm sorry.
No.
Doesn't matter,
whatever.
whichever way.
Doesn't make any difference to me.
I would like to make a motion that we, should I do mine?
No, go
Sorry.
ahead. I'll just
That
reverse
we
mine.
allow the euchre team to play for their $5 or whatever it was. Okay, may I shorten this? I make a motion that we allow euchre to go on as it used to, as allowed by state law at the senior center ASAP.
Oh, I'll second, I'm sorry. Got really quiet. Questions?
Yes. I assume when you say like it used to be, you mean for money.
It's like $5, yeah. It's.
No, I'm just clarifying.
Yeah, yes.
So that
yes.
people know what we're voting.
Yeah,
on.
not.
That's the key change.
Yes, that's the
for
big,
money.
yeah, because anybody can play anything they want as long as there's no money. But when it's, as I understand the state law, and we've all looked into it numerous times, if it's a game of skill, it's not considered gambling. If it's a game of choice, it is considered gambling. It is state law, it is legal to play in our township offices. It is not legal to gamble money for a game of chance. And they allow it in the other community center, is allowed there. I want it allowed in the senior center. It's a community companionship that our seniors like, and I've talked to at least 50 seniors so that they feel this is something they really want. Nobody's gonna go broke. There's a $5, that's it. It's not a ongoing, add more money to the pot. And they wish it.
Trustee Rosecrans?
Do we have anything in our bylaws that say that we can't? Has it been looked into?
We are in the process of working with the superintendent's office to review any documentation that does support or refute the ability to do that.
Okay.
I would suggest that this board does certainly have the authority to make such a decision as trustee Kellerman has requested, so long as it's all understood that we are still in the process of updating documents to come to accord with that.
Okay.
Okay. So this is under,
Is the community center not under the same laws as the senior center?
We have not found the documentation that identifies how that's working right now. That's what we're trying to uncover, is what's the difference, how has that maybe occurred over time? So I'm suggesting again that I think this board, so long as we acknowledge that your intent is going to be to allow this moving forward, we can continue to update documents to approve that.
Okay, got another question.
oh, I'm sorry.
Does that mean they can go ahead and start? If we vote to go with it, they can start this week? Or if we gotta wait till you guys get it all sifted out?
So I think this board could tackle that in one of two ways. The first way is to say that that decision, for instance, if you all approve to move forward with euchre for money, that decision is effective once we've brought you back a new and updated policy or ordinance, as the case may be, for that issue, which would delay the start of that. The other option is that in taking this vote, you are acknowledging that you are choosing not to follow that particular portion of the rental policy and other standards that may be in place. So we are simply talking about identifying the documents or the sources that have led to these decisions over time. And so, again, you're making a policy decision, your policy decision will control.
I believe I did not say anything about renting.
I was just gonna say.
This is not for rental, this is, come on in and let's play euchre there's no rental fee with this idea.
I'm quite aware, but when we spoke about this issue 2 weeks ago, we were talking more broadly about what other documents needed to be reviewed or understood to address the whole issue. And I can hear the comments from the public, so I'll speak to that I'm just speaking more broadly. I understand, and I am affirming the board's ability to today decide you would wish to allow euchre for payment. That is something that this board may decide to do. So I am not arguing with the motion, I am simply explaining the background that we are continuing that work to clean up the materials and documents so that whatever exists that may have led to discrepancy, we can sort out or have a document that clarifies there should be no discrepancy.
That only brings up more questions.
Okay.
Okay, no, I understand. When they're talking about euchre for pay, but it's a game of skill. So if the motion were to be, which again would have to be changed, for euchre to be played as a skilled game, and they chose later on to play for pennies or nickels or whatever it would be, is that in opposition of what the state is asking?
No, I think based on everything we've heard over the several meetings, the summaries we've received from many members of your public are accurate in terms of describing euchre as something that you certainly can pay, again, for
Skill.
nominal, and in this context, it's permissible. So,
For pay.
as I understand the motion that's presented to you, you are being asked to make a policy decision that is what you would like to approve.
I think I'd like to change my motion. Instead of using the word euchre, games of skill. I don't even know if we want to say cards.
I don't
Audience?
No.
Just tournaments.
No, because
Wait,
places hold them as cards.
No.
So you
Right,
don't
we don't
wanna-
want to use
so I'm
that.
saying you don't want to say.
But games of skill
Games of skill.
would eliminate that discrepancy.
Correct.
Yes, it
So
would.
games of skill, I would, for minimal amount of,
No, games
no.
of skill
Games of skill can use
Period.
money.
is
I-
not
I
gambling.
mean, we're not, it's not
I'm
gambling.
understanding.
So
I
it
have,
fits the law. I'm just ready to take out the word euchre, so it's more
games of
broad.
skill to play as in the past, as allowed by state law, effective immediately.
Yes,
I like the way you word that, that'll work.
that's perfect, thank you.
So is there,
Wait.
hang on 1 second. Is there a second?
You
Second,
You
or
were the
I made
second,
it.
so would you accept her her
Yes, I
amendment?
would. Okay,
That's clear.
Sherry,
discussion.
do you think that there should be any cap on that amount? I know you said minimal, and I agree with
Yeah, I don't-
your framing, but, you know, if we don't think about those things, somewhere down the line, someone might be
Can I-
running a real big game over there.
Let me ask, yeah, because we don't want to have $1,000.
That's not the intent of what
No,
we're trying to do.
okay, let me ask over there, what would you guys be comfortable with? $5. Put a cap, $5?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're playing for $3.
Let's do 5. Let's be really radical and go to 5.
Yeah.
Okay, 5. Put
Might
that
I-
limit on.
Might I suggest 10?
10?
Allow for inflation.
Inflation, okay, let's cap it at 10 and you guys cut it.
Fine, we're not gonna play that. I think that's fine. What about if we wanted to do a bridge tournament?
Well, we just opened it up and took the word euchre out and made cards.
Yeah, but you
No,
can limit
you
it
didn't
to
say
$10
cards.
down there, but bridge tournament,
skill.
we feed 'em-
Skilled, yeah, that's bridge is skill, so it fits.
Feed 'em, and we charge more than $10.
You can't.
Oh, how much do you charge for bridge?
It's a tournament. It's a tournament, a lot, 35, $40. But we give out more.
Now, are we back to gambling?
Well, would be an event
It's-
that you would actually have to rent the senior center for, I would think.
No, they don't rent it, they don't have to rent it.
Done in the past.
Not rented, they were just using it.
Fundraisers for the center. What was it, Barbara? Yeah.
So why don't we not put a limit on it, and if we see things
Just
get
minimal.
ridiculous, then we
Well, you need a limit.
need a
Yeah, I
limit?
think you need a limit.
Could we do 50? Could we, okay, we could do 50, would that work with you guys?
So they can put the money.
Yeah, okay, let's put a that on it, and that is, they don't do that for euchre, so, okay, 50.
I would say just minimal fee, then it doesn't have a dollar amount.
Yes, oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking. You can see it going?
Kind of scary.
It is scary.
Yes,
All right,
Who is
Hey,
gonna
hang on
run
one second. Trustee,
the tournaments?
Marie, I can't, I'm sorry.
no, I'm saying trustee Rosecrans has
Okay,
a
I didn't hear
question.
you.
Who's gonna run these tournaments? Is it gonna be is it gonna be the senior center? Or is it gonna be Nancy and,
Nancy is a senior center.
That would be the board, I would say, the senior center board.
so if a person isn't on the board, they can't run one?
But our board doesn't run.
We don't run
No.
any of them.
So in the past, when Barbara Reeves had bridge tournaments, she was not a member of the Senior Services
Right.
Advisory Board. She came to me and we worked out that agreement that she would run those bridge tournaments herself.
Okay.
As a fundraiser. That's different than,
So Martha
What you
Sherman could come
Right.
and talk to you and run one day a week,
Of what?
euchre?
No, they can do it they can go in there and play.
any game of skill.
A game of skill. If they, next Thursday, next week, the guys decide they want to have a game of euchre, they can go in there and use it because we're open now. So it's not, we don't have to organize it and say this is the day we can do it.
hope
Anybody
we
can
get-
go in there and do it. Play cards.
Let's try the motion one more time. Oh, sorry.
I was actually thinking, is there another way to make this easier? I understand, we're trying to find those lanes. I understand that some of this has arisen due to the decision of the superintendent's office to say that those games of skill may not be played for money, if that's correct. So another alternative, if you were so interested in a changed motion, trustee Kellerman, would be to simply override the superintendent's decision that games of skill may not be played for money at the senior center. So it would be essentially unwinding that element of that choice, instead of trying to define all
Define
of
it.
this.
Okay. We can do that. Does that sound? Withdraw my motion and make a new motion that we,
I gotta draw the second. You gotta withdraw the
Well, I'll
second.
withdraw the second.
Okay.
okay.
Because as long as we can have a very clear motion, what do you got?
I have override the Superintendent Hildebrandt's
Decision
To,
that games of skill may not be played for money at the senior center.
Clear.
Is that accurate?
yes,
Okay.
that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
I was just gonna say, wait a minute,
Games of skill cannot be changed, cannot be played.
cannot be played.
Overriding
Okay,
the rule.
Okay, gotcha. Now that we're all together,
Just a minute, we have one question over there.
you got it? Okay, all right.
Yes, it's a game of skill.
That's a game of
So it all fits under the same umbrella. We should be good to go.
All right, so we have a motion, we have a second,
I have discussion.
we have discussion. Go ahead and discuss.
Okay, the next topic that's gonna come up is, can they bring their food in on Tuesdays and Thursdays when they're playing cards?
But that's not.
Because currently,
But that's a different, what I understood, what I read about the law is if the kitchen is locked,
yes,
then you can bring stuff in and share it. You cannot do it if the kitchen is open or feed people from the kitchen.
okay.
Like, you could come into here and bring a potluck if there's no kitchen here.
I just,
Prepackaged, whatever.
Okay, you ready for a
exactly
vote?
how you go. I don't
We have the
know. Yeah,
motion.
that's what I
We
understand.
have a second.
I don't know.
So we're ready for, is there any other
Okay.
discussion? There doesn't seem to be any other discussion. You want to read the motion one more time, just to make sure? Or I can read it, you can,
override Superintendent Hildebrandt's decision that game of skills cannot be played for money at senior center.
I make that motion.
I was going to say, can you read that one more time?
That's the, yeah.
Yeah, so you're overriding Superintendent
Well, I understand the first
Hildebrandt's-
part, it's the other part that I'm,
That games of skill
Cannot
cannot be
be
played
played.
for money at senior center.
okay.
That's
We're
what,
overriding.
You were overriding that.
Okay.
More discussion.
Yeah, so I'm on the State of Michigan website, charitable gaming, and it says bingo is a game of chance. So I just want to be clear, that would not fall under this
I've-
game of skill
I've-
issue.
Yes.
I believe that there's an exception for
Yes.
de minimis, and I think they even call out senior centers, although it's been a minute since I read that. So I was just recommending to the superintendent that the clarifying memo or email that may come as a result of this could say the board is approving the games for skill for pay, however that's going to be worded, and that the bingo may continue because of a separate authorization under the law.
Okay, thank you.
You ready to vote?
Yep.
Shoot.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
That was painful, but thank you. It was- All right, now we're on D, which has to do with the acceptance of the 2024 to 2028 capital improvement plan.
Right.
Are you going to do it?
I'm just raising my hand to be acknowledged.
Yeah, but I know, but we're on to, okay. Yes.
Thank you. I make a motion to accept the 24-28 capital improvement plan as submitted.
Second.
Ms. Butler Challenger, yes. Ms. Howe?
No.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Ms. Kellerman?
Yes.
Mr. Funes Bliss?
Yes.
Mr. Rosecrans?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.